PSA ticket that is critical first, and then working our way down.
Bye, hopefully.
Make sure to preserve your life.
Ew, this is weird, the screen's so small.
In this next clip, we see somebody who's actually tied together and thrown into a river to drown and die. Well, in the 1800s, drowned dead is the same as in the 20th century or 21st century, drowned and dead. There's no saving this person. We have a lot of information about drowning injuries. There's really two types of ways people drown. One is called a dry drown, one's called a wet drown. The dry drown is when your larynx actually spasms, and because it spasms, trying to stave off any water getting into your lungs, you actually choke yourself to death. The second is when actually water enters into your lungs and you flood the area that's supposed to be used for air to get oxygen with water, and then you die from that. Both are traumatic, both are disastrous, both can be recovered if the person is brought to an emergency department in the appropriate amount of time. You got 5 minutes until you can't get blood to the brain, and then you're brain dead. If you consider the 1800s, actually, if you consider the 21st century, if you're in the middle of nowhere in a river, tied up, thrown in a riverbank to drown, I can guarantee you're not going to come out alive, because we're talking minutes for your survival. So consider this person dead. The most graphic part is the manner in which he was killed. In this next clip, we see dead. The most graphic part is the manner in which he was killed. In this next clip, we see somebody getting tossed from the back of the train. Two important things here. One is the actual fall from the height. The second is the fact that the train is moving. When you consider both of these things, unfortunately today, especially in Los Angeles, in which where I practice, we see a lot of motor vehicle accidents. We see a lot of people being projected outside of cars. Here's the thing. Those forces are very high, higher than you think. Falling off of that height is not going to cause a lot of trauma, maybe a broken bone or two. But when you're falling off of something that's moving, the forces are higher, and the potential for trauma inside your chest and your abdomen is high, which causes internal bleeding and death. So let's consider the two different treatments here. In the late 1800s, if somebody fell off a train like this, if they had no internal bleeding in their chest or abdomen, they would be able to live. They would have disability and they would have pain. Today, if somebody came like that to the hospital and they did have bleeding, we'd be able to resolve it. If they had fractures, we'd be able to splint it, and within 6 weeks, we'd get them back to where they once were. In this next clip, we see somebody getting shot in the leg. Nowadays, we see a lot of people getting shot in the leg. Unfortunately, it's a daily occurrence in urban emergency departments. Getting shot in the leg is not a life-threatening injury. However, in this clip, the shot actually blows the person's leg off, and it's like an amputation. Even amputations are salvageable if you know what to do. The number one most important thing is to actually tie off that leg so you don't exsanguinate, you don't lose blood. In the late 1800s, there was no significant concept of this, and even if there's somebody who's smart enough to do that, once you're tied off, you need to then repair that leg. In the 1800s, there's nobody that's going to repair it. Nowadays, this is salvageable. This is something we can take care of you. And with bioprosthetics that we have today, this guy could be actually walking very shortly with a bioprosthetic. If he has appropriate gear on, you may not even know that he's missing a leg. In this next clip, we see somebody getting shot, getting back up after falling down, and then slowly bleeding out. We see a pretty significant amount of blood on the floor. That's actually pretty realistic. You have 5 liters of blood in your body, and a lot of times when you get shot, the actual bullet's not what kills you. Actually, most of the time it's not that. Most of the time it's the fact that you lose blood. Having said that, sometimes the blood is in your chest and your belly, you don't see it. Sometimes it's on the floor. So that's a good indication of what type of bleed you have and the potential for death. When you see a lot of blood on the floor, obviously the chance of death is extremely high. Why is this guy able to get up? It's very common. When you get shot, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. It's a fight or flight response. The body is built to try to get away from that angry bear. So as soon as you get shot, you're able to get up, run away. You probably don't even feel the fact that you're shot. But very short thereafter, the blood starts seeping away out of your body. The blood's not going to your brain. You You start getting weak, tired, you lose consciousness, you fall, you die. So if you actually see the time in which this person dies, that's the key with regards to treatment. In the 1800s, that guy had about 30 seconds, maybe a minute to live or a chance to survive. No one's going to be able to save him in the 1800s. Even nowadays, the only chance that guy would have, and I'm telling you it's a minimal chance, is if he was shot in the emergency department. So that type of a bullet wound, almost always, 99.9% of the time, regardless of what century you were shot in, you're going to die. Doctors in the 1800s had limited ability to do things. They had the same desire to help, they had the same heart and need to try to help people who a lot more tools, a lot better ways of actually helping and saving lives.
All those movies. Ocean's 11, that's a good example. You know, you recruit these guys because this guy was this and that guy. I mean, it's a cool concept, but no, it really would ever happen that way.
For Anthony Curcio, he pulled off the perfect crime. Almost.
I planned out an armored car robbery where I dressed in blue shirt, blue hat, safety vest, and a wig, basically to look like a city worker. And before the crime happened, I posted an ad on Craigslist, and I don't know how many people showed up to the bank, but I requested that they wear a blue shirt, blue hat, safety vest, so everyone looked uniform. And on Tuesday at 11 o'clock on September 30th, 08, the Brinks armored car pulled in, and there was 10, 15 people in one corner, and then another 6 or 7 people in the other corner. And then there was one person that was on his own. As soon as they wheeled in the money, I came in from behind and pepper sprayed the armored car driver, took the money, ran across the highway and stripped off all of my clothes, threw it on the ground, and am known for escaping on an inner tube because it was like separating. There was a little stream that went underneath freeway. I could go underneath the stream on the inner tube, come out the other side, and even though distance-wise they're very close, in order for a vehicle to get from here to there, it would probably be about 15, 20 minutes. So when the police showed up at the scene, here there was 16, 17 of these people, all dressed in blue shirt, blue hat, safety vest, and matching the description. The purpose of that was just to create enough confusion, just to buy me a little bit of time. So I did actually get away. I was actually caught before the crime even happened, about a week prior to the crime. I wanted to know how long it would take me to get from the bank down to the river on the inner tube across to the other side of this freeway. During that time run, it was a hot day for Seattle, so I took off the blue shirt, blue hat, and I was wearing different clothes underneath, and I put these items behind a dumpster by a grocery store. A homeless man, he started saying, "Hey, I know what that is, you know, what's the wig for?" I get my items, I go back to the car, and I drove off, and I sat in the car, and I just remember thinking, geez. In the middle console, I had magnetic dealer plates that were just bogus, and I remember thinking, I'm not doing anything illegal, I don't need to put these on. They just sat there, and I remember looking at them after I saw that homeless man, I'm like, oh man, why didn't I put these things on? In 2008, when the market crashed, I had been buying and flipping properties, and it was like, you couldn't lose. It didn't matter what I buy by the time that like the whole deal closed, maybe I'd made $50,000 just because the equity was rising that fast. Well, then all of a sudden, I had all these properties. Even though I had interested buyers in them, I couldn't sell them. No one could get a loan anymore. I kept thinking, okay, I'm gonna get out of this. Eventually someone could get a loan, but then they were like requiring, it went from 0% down, they'll give anybody a loan. Overnight it went to like, okay, basically 25%. Well, who the hell's got 25% down? My point is that I was unable to sell any of the properties that I owned at the time. Pretty soon, my savings totally depleted. My wife and I were having another baby.
I want to go to another party.
And, being
What?
the man, I guess, in my head, it's like all my value came from like providing. A week later, the robbery happens. And the difference here was that normally when people are like watching about a bank robbery, most of the time people are like, oh, you know, scumbag, this and that. But that was a different time. It was literally a day after the $700 bailout of the banking system by the government. The banking system that got this money interest-free. It's not like they bailed out all of the people that were losing their homes, so people were pissed. Really pissed off. And that changed like the public perspective of all this. And it created like this thing when they couldn't catch, you know, whoever this guy that did this was. And people were like rooting for whoever it was to get away.
What do you got? The Holy Grail, the Union Depository. Now they say it cannot be hit. I gotta make a big take. Well, gems it is then.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard to do a mission without the cheat codes, though. The thing is it makes the game funner for like, it's kind of like real life. You know, you get the cheat codes and it's like, oh, I can get this faster, I can get that, I have all this money, and then it totally like deflates the game like funness, though.
Okay, let's get this done.
Press to enter glasses, hidden camera. It's like, yeah, well, you can record whatever you're looking at, but guess what? They're recording you too. You don't think they're gonna look back? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. This shot is useless.
Shut up, man.
What we got? A security camera and the alarm system.
Yeah, which I'm all on.
Good work. Now speak to the assistant and see if there's anything else we need to know.
Oh, exactly. That's a good idea. Just long enough so she remembers me. Yeah, look at me. Remember this face.
I'm gonna take a look around. Think about it. Come back to you, baby.
I'm gonna go look around. Think about it. Then I'll come back, baby. She'll never remember that.
I'm on the roof. All right, use the glasses to get me a shot of Angelico's roof unit. It'll be right above the store.
Wait, I'm on the building of? Get out of here. Why did I go into the store? The dude already knew that was in there. Why did I go in there? The reason for committing this crime is because the dude owes the money to the guy. 2.5 million. And he has no insurance. Yeah, they're all talking tough here, but you know what? As soon as the feds come knocking, throwing 20 years at you, guess what? All your homeboys
What are you gonna do?
sell you out in a heartbeat.
There's two ways I see of doing this. We go
I
in
don't know.
smart, or we go in loud and dumb.
Well, you know, the more stuff you got, the more complicated it is. Like in my crime, you know, anytime that you involve too many things, it's a lot of things that could go wrong. And nothing ever goes right. But because I would like to try to do it smart.
Select personnel with that